Ahoy, hoy, friends, and welcome to the salon. Tonight, the doctor will see you in hell. That's right, we are talking about Star Trek The Next Generation Season 6 and 7 cliffhanger, Descent, Parts 1 and 2. Lots of fun to discuss, including this guy comes back. Tried to kill her just a few episodes earlier in Suspicions as Joe Brill. And now he's back as Lieutenant Barnaby. You know what could be even better than coming back for more? Subscribing to the salon. That's right, all the podcast things. We are here on YouTube, obviously. Thank you for joining us. But we are also on the Twitters and Bluesky. We're also in all the podcast places. So if you don't love seeing our beautiful faces, but just hearing our lovely voices, you could do that as well. And we also appreciate our Patreon supporters. You can join at patreon.com/salontrek. We've got a free tier. Folks vote in our bonus polls. $2, $5, and $9 a month get you some fun benefits. We'll be sharing a little bit more about that later in this episode. But again, here Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific at Salon Trek, everywhere you may find us. That nonsense out of the way, we got to talk about Star Trek. And in order to do that, I need to beam in my crew, starting with my co-host, Trevor. How you do?
I am just delightful. How are you?
You are just delightful, as am I. Living it, living the dream. Speaking of dreaming delightful, here's Joanne. Joanne, how are you?
I am well, friends. I am well.
Excellent. Speaking of friends, here's Krista. Krista, how you do?
I'm well as well. Thank you.
Here's Will. I was trying to think of a segue that wasn't going to sound mean because I was thinking, like, as soon as Krista said "well," I thought about Wells for Boys, that SNL sketch.
Yeah, I would have enjoyed that as a child. Also, a balcony to tell my deepest thought, make proclamations from. Yeah, I would have definitely would have loved that. Yeah.
What's he doing? Telling it a secret.
It was a deeply gay and troubled child. So, if I could have smoked cigarettes, I would have. They would have matched my ennui. Riddle.
Speaking of gay and deeply troubled, we're going to talk about Descent tonight and the return of Hugh. Queen of segues, I am. But before we talk about Hugh and his hubris, we simply must set an intention.
This is obvious, but don't forget to set an intention when you light it, or you're just going to be wasting the wax.
Indeed, we must. So to set an intention tonight, I thought it would be fun if we made fun of Descent. Descent combines two bad guys, the Borg and Lore. I thought it would be fun just for shits and giggles. Let's throw another bad guy in the mix and see if it makes the episode better, different, worse. As always, I'll start us off by saying that I would like to throw the Intendant into the mix. It brings the Nob Visitor into Next Gen. She's a little slutty, and this episode needs sluttiness. She's a little sassy, and it needs more sass than Lore brings to the table. And I just want to see what her reaction to the Borg would be. So my answer is the Intendant. Let's go around the room and hear who you'd like to add to this this wonderful episode. Krista.
For me, the every time I watch this episode, I think of the other episode where Picard and Data have to put on those gold masks and have like sexual innuendo communication, but it's subtle. And so every time I think it just is like everything is sexual innuendo. It did not help that I watched this one with my husband, so he had running commentary while it was going on, which was one of them was "What's with Namaste guy forehead?" And I'm like, in which we figure out he's referring to Worf because his head. So he's like Namaste. He's like Namaste forehead. Like he's a tosser. He doesn't. Mr. Krista does not watch The Next Generation. Anyway, so all of this brought me to The Borg in this seemed to be like a cult in search of its, David Miscavige cult leader. And I thought, so we've got the Borg, we've got Lore. Let's throw Ronan in the mix. Let's throw an anaphasic sex demon and see what happens, because everybody's so emotional in this. It's all about emotions. So let's throw Ronan in there and see if he can have some, orgiastic recharging off of all of the emotions that are happening around him. That was it. Plus also being upset that he's separated from his beloved Beverly.
I love it. I absolutely love it. What if he showed up on the ship and oh my God, there's so much.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Joanne?
That's hot. My vote was for Ardra from Devil Do. Because, she got out somehow, and she was always kind of fascinated with Data, and now there's two. So hilarity and hotness pursues, Team Ardra.
Good.
That would be amazing if she just sultried out and she was the one controlling Lore.
That's good.
We've already made this episode better. Will?
My choice was Sela. So I thought it'd been interesting to have evil Yar with evil Data, like have something like that.
Evil
have her
sex.
around. Yeah. I feel like it, I don't know. There needed to be something weird happening, weirder than what happens in this episode. But I feel like if Sela was there, it would have. We'll talk about it. My issues with this episode, but it would have made the stakes even higher. That there was more of a quote family affair.
It's also a nice tie-in to Star Trek Armada, because the Romulan campaign starts with them working with the Borg. Nerd alert!
Love all these answers. Fearless leader, don't fuck it up.
Yeah. I will try not to. I want to take one of the few original-ish ideas from Picard season 3 and put in here and throw in the changelings for some reason.
I'll allow it.
Cool.
Have them show up for some reason.
As Audra.
Early on. Yes, as Audra. Blame it. Yes, this is going to get very meta, and it actually ends up being Trelane. But before it's revealed to be Trelane, it's Q Delancey. It just goes through the whole spectrum. Like, who is it? We at the end of the episode, we do not know.
It's just full Scooby-Doo. They just keep taking masks off, and it's constantly a different person.
Yes. Delightful as always. The intentions are set. It's time to get into this episode and run ourselves a level 2 diagnostic on this two-parter.
Calibration is locked and normal. Diagnostic underway.
I will kick off this section. Okay, here's what I'll say. This episode is a great example of how I think a lot of the criticisms that newer streaming Trek gets come from people who look at 90s Trek with rose-colored glasses. Like, this episode has some aspects that just make no sense. Kind of boring in certain places. It feels like a mash of like 4 or 5 half ideas that they just like threw together at the end because it's season 7. Who gives a shit? Like, let's try to redo Best of Both Worlds and have the Borg in a cliffhanger again. Blah. Like, I love seeing Captain Beverly. Fucking love it. Like, there are aspects of this episode that I thought are really good and could have been explored. Troy and Data's conversations, really, really interesting, and then they just kind of get dropped. In fact, frustratingly so, like, Troy is the one who says negatives are not themselves, or emotions are not themselves negative. And then later in the episode, she's like, well, why is he only getting the negative emotions from Lore? Like, but, like, you just said, like, come on, writers, like, keep it consistent at least. So, like, there's a lack of consistency. It's all over the place. I feel like Trevor's hatred of two-parters is born from this episode. Like, this is where it comes from. That's my theory, but we'll get into it more. Will, your top thoughts on these episodes?
Yeah, this is it's kind of funny revisiting these because like in out of like context of the rest of the season or like thinking about Star Trek holistically, like the two-parters are so funny because they miss more than they hit. Like based on our kind of revision of or review of them or look at them again. These ones, the stakes are so low in this episode. Like, not only is everyone literally phoning it in because they've made like 500 episodes of this TV series at this point, it's like the stakes could not be lower. Like, there are no stakes. You went to the steak restaurant and they're like, we're out. There are no stakes at the steakhouse. There is none here. It's so the setup is good. I think the first episode is pretty successful setting things up, but I think it doesn't ratchet up from there. Oh, all the crews on the planet, and then like the Enterprise manages to survive. You know, it was frustrating watching it because it just the solutions were so simple, and it was like, oh, we did this and then this, and it's neat having callbacks to other episodes. I think there's references to 3 other previous episodes in this one, which is pretty great. But like, it's such a flat line of an episode. Like, it's funny that they're hanging out in Zordon's in the Power Rangers their headquarters from the first season of the Power Rangers, because that's some structure out in LA somewhere. I don't remember, but like it's a very meh episode where it just doesn't feel like there's no stakes. There's nothing at play here, and there's so many good components where like Enterprise is far away. All of these things, I don't know. I remember liking this episode as a kid, but I only think it was because the Borg were in it, and I don't think it was because I was watching the episode. I also love Lore's muscle suit. It's really funny. Those are my top thoughts. Joanne?
So, yeah, I don't like this episode. It is probably one of my, like, it makes me angry when it comes up. Like, oh, I can't watch this, and I usually just fast forward to it. Although I do love the just the Troy-ness of it all. Like, it gets me together when she is in the little away team with Picard, and she just kind of walks up that hill and poses like in her Power Ranger, kind of jumpsuit, move. And I'm like, she got heels on. It's so funny to me. She's like, I think I see something. Bitch, we all could see it if we
She
could all
literally
see
looked
it.
that way as she sat down. I was just telling Trevor about this. Like, what is this? So
I'm
right.
like, she looked like I was playing with my Barbie dolls. Like, that's some shit I would do, like, let's take her up the hill and pose her. Oh, Captain, I see something. It gets me together every time. It gets me together. But other than that, I'm like, I don't know. None of what's happening makes sense. None of what's happening makes sense. But it is what it is. So, and I like the girl Tate. Um, she's so pretty. Ugh. But yeah, that's it. Yes, 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 yes. And then she stands up and puts that hand on the knee, the glamour shot, or in the club photo. Yeah, it gets me together. It gets me together. That's it. That's it. That's it. It gets me together. And she
It's
got a little chunky heel. Yeah.
It's very Black Widow and Avengers. Like, every time she drops.
I don't know that reference, but
Oh.
sure.
She looks like this every time she drops. Krista, your top thoughts?
Yeah, not my favorite two-parter. It's tremendously boring to me. I do appreciate that they try to sort of mimic Trev's favorite, where they all what was it? What was the episode? Catastrophe, some shit where Geordi and Beverly are paired off.
Disaster.
That's it. Catastrophe, disaster. It's find a thesaurus. So I liked that they sort of paired everybody off. But the thing that really pisses me off about this episode, it makes me dislike it, is that it is so data centric, and when it isn't data centric, it's lore centric. And Lore, the character of Lore, is so kind of mustache twirling, over the top performative villain that I can't. It's more laughable to me than it is anything. Like, again, there are no stakes. I think that there's something wrong with an entire crew that does not look at Beverly and Jordy and say, see, this is what we were fucking talking about here. When you release a remanufactured Borg into the Borg and now they have emotions, this is exactly what we were trying to fucking avoid. But no, you guys had to name the fucker, and then you had to, give him agency and all of this shit. So nobody says anything, which is exactly what I would be thinking, because I'm petty as fuck. I think it's funny that Beverly gets left with like people that have been on the ship for 3 months. Like, we're going to leave. We're going to take the entire senior staff. We're just going to take them down there. We're going to split them up. We're going to put them into a really shitty situation. And I'm going to leave the ship in Beverly's charge. And we're going to leave her people that have only like never stepped foot on the bridge. Okay. I'm sure that's going to work out great. And it worked out fine. Beverly dealt with it, but I'll tell you what improves this is watching it with your spouse. So Mr. Krista got home earlier this evening than expected, and as I was watching it, so he sat down and he was asking obscure questions like, who's the Namaste guy? Why does he always talk like he's on stage? Why does Riker keep doing strange things with his chin? And just things that made it amusing to watch, where otherwise I just would have kind of tuned out. I found that there were whole sections where I just was like, I have no idea what happened there. I wasn't really paying attention, even though I'm looking at the screen. It was just boring. It's like, well said, there was no, who cares? Give me put a changeling in there. Give me someone to root for.
Krista's channeling a new vibe tonight, and I think it's Admiral Nechayev. I'm hearing your commentary, and I'm picturing Elena Nechayev for sure.
I loved her read though. She was boom, blistering. You fuckers did this, and then you fucking did this, and then so you know what? You little fucks can go and take care of this, and I don't want to hear anything from you until it's taken care of. And she was like, wow, okay, sis, we'll deal with it then. She was totally different from the last time we saw her in one of these two-parters. Listen, I'm just happy we didn't have to do Times Arrow, because I would have fucking shit my pants if we had to Twain.
We shan't be doing that for various reasons. Both you and Joanne have very passionate views on that episode, and fair. But that also reminded me of I know we talked about not infecting Hugh with whatever from iBorg before we kept our episodes up. Like we used to self-destruct. But we may need to revisit controversial decisions in Trek. I know we've done a few, but was Captain Picard right? Or should they have killed all the Borg? Maybe not. Maybe a little too close to home. We'll just sit with that for a moment. Trevor, what were your top thoughts on Descent Parts 1 and 2? The rest of us will go on mute.
Thank you, Queen of Segways. Jesus Christ, where am I supposed to go with that? I don't know that my distaste for two-parters started here. I think it probably started with Times Arrow, but I definitely, these two don't help. I will say the thing that I enjoy the most about these two episodes, and I'm just gonna put all the Bev alerts on for this because like all of the Bev stuff on the Enterprise, like I wanted that as a two-parter. Like, give me some other reason for why Beverly is in command, other than the fact that everyone else is on a search and rescue mission. By the way, a thing you might want a doctor for, maybe.
Yeah, it made no fucking sense. Like it was like, oh, who can we give the D team to? Yeah, Beverly will do it.
Well, like also search and rescue, maybe more so than your chief engineer. Like the doctor might have a little more experience in search and rescue than Geordi.
And your counselor.
Also,
although I think for Data specifically, those two, but it's a stretch.
She was sensing her way through it. It's just weird. It tries to do too much with no stakes. So to everyone's point, these two episodes try to be too many things. Like there's Borg, there's lore, there's Data with emotion, there's Bev in command. It's like how many plot lines? This thing has like an E and an F plot. Like I don't. This is too much. And this is way too much. The other thing, I like the Barnaby Tate kind of back and forthness that happens in episode 2. I just don't like that they reused the Barnaby actor so quickly. Like you were just in Suspicions, which is like 5 episodes ago. Like what? Why are you back? I don't understand. And he does a lovely job of being a dickhead, but like, why? Like, was no one else available? I don't know. It was just weird.
Back just to make the metaphasic shielding joke.
Yes.
I guess it was
a commitment for a bit, right?
Yes.
I thought Will committed to bits. Like the writers of this episode really committed to this bit. I mean, it was cool when they were mentioning the metaphasics, and that was around the time the first watch through. That was around the time his voice started to sound really familiar, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute! I think I figured out who this guy was." Because Teenage Trevor watched Suspicions 9,000 times because Beverly like drop kicks the guy, and that was really fun. And so I watched that episode a bunch. But anyway, back to Descent. Back to the descent into Descent. Yeah, it just doesn't land. It doesn't work. I don't understand why. What are the odds that Lore bumped into the ship that Hugh was on? Like what? Like how small is the galaxy again? Like it just doesn't make any sense. And also, thanks for wrapping up Lore by disassembling him, but I would be fine with never finding him again.
Well, talk to Terry Metalis about
there
closing the
are
loop
lots
on
of things,
no original ideas.
There are lots of things I would like to talk to Terry Metalis about, but I don't think he would probably block me when we were done because he does that whenever you disagree with him.
Can confirm.
Those are my top thoughts.
All right. Good night, everybody. No, let's get into it further. I promise we won't be negative about every aspect, although maybe we will. Maybe that's what gets the algorithm. We gotta piss people off to get subscribers. Let's talk more about the Borg though, because there are, like I said earlier, and we've all touched on this, there are some interesting things happening here. It's just a little all over the place. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the Borg and Hugh. So it seems that reintroducing Hugh to the Borg causes a schism, and a bunch of them freak out and have to be ejected from the Hive. Thank you. I was about to say Continuum. I was like, no, that's a different one. From the Hive Collective. Collective is the word I was looking for. So we have Borg who are experiencing individuality for the first time. It's chaotic. Hugh's over here being gay as hell and not a leader. Gays can't lead. That's the lesson of these episodes. But Lore comes in somehow after leaving Data behind in Brothers and stealing the emotion chip and fucks with them. Interesting, like what happens when you reintroduce a Borg to the Borg, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They don't really deep dive it though. It's just like, oh, they like, we've all sort of touched on this, but like they have like 6 half ideas that they have just pressed together. Like, what if the Borg meet Hugh, meet Data's emotion chip, meet Captain Beverly? Like, it is weird. Thoughts on the Borg, the angry Borg? Will?
Yeah, I like the idea of it. Again, it's funny because they I think we've seen how like Star Trek to this point had reached like the threshold for the level of storytelling you could tell in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s. Like they couldn't have dug any deeper than this. Like it would have it like that just wasn't TV that was being made. So it's funny that we're like they should have dug deeper into this because that's what they would have done on like if TNG was being made today. Given time they'll probably reboot it, but like if it was being made today, like this episode would have dug really deep into the trauma of the Borg being removed from the hive, their individuality, how they clung to Lore, like Lore being this kind of charismatic Trumpian cult leader, bringing these people together, and like there's like a great idea there. And like when you introduce a megalomaniac into a group of people who become alienated and isolated from their culture and society, like there's a very salient, very relevant story to be told there. I just think that we kind of bumped up against the threshold of storytelling in this period of TV at the time that they probably couldn't have told that story. Like I just don't think I think it just would have been impossible. So when we talk about this, it's like there's really good nugget ideas that they kind of put together that this episode at the time, like looking at some of the reviews from the past, were like, yeah, it's fine, it's fun. And like this series had kind of reached its lifespan by this point anyway. But like it is fascinating to see that this was like a really cool story that being told now probably would have been expounded upon and like probably would have been half a season or like would have been several episodes rather just be 2 truncated 45 minutes where it's like they're racing from one plot point to the next and can't really touch too much onto it. Like there's so many ways we could like, yeah, like the Borg that's the good way for them to have like kind of approached it again. But yeah, I love the idea of it. I like the idea of Hugh being angry and being like, why did you do this? Like this was fucking awful. Like you hurt these people. Like, yes, I was assimilated. You released us from this, but did you ever care to ask us if we wanted that? Like, there's this kind of, there's a lack of consent that they performed with this. Like, it was like either send him back to the Borg to kind of disrupt the hive or commit a massive genocide. Like, it's a very interesting change that, like, I don't think there's really a right answer to, that the moral question of that is very interesting. I just don't think that if they should, if I was to think about this episode now, I would have removed all of the Lore Data stuff and just focused on Hugh and him being the central character, replace him as the character that's doing this. Maybe Lore is in the episode, but they've used the emotion chip to lure Data there or something. Like, done something where it's less about Data and Lore, but more about the Hugh story about like what the fuck he did. Mm-hmm. And now they're not seeking revenge, because I think that's also a little lame, but overdone. Being like, it's a little overdone, yeah. But thinking more in terms of like how this affects them, because at this time when we knew about the Borg, they weren't this like scary assimilation species. Like the way they're kind of addressed early on, they're obsessed with technology. They don't need anything to the organic life. They're only interested in our technology. They weren't, the only person they assimilated was Picard at that point. Mm. So like they became this kind of scary assimilation thing as we moved into like First Contact, and then into so this is the last time we see the Borg, I think, in this series. So it's like then once you get into Voyager and then First Contact, they become this kind of scary assimilation species. But that wasn't really true early on. It felt like they were a species that they had become so closely entwined with technology. That's all they cared about, was expanding on that. Mm-hmm. And this idea of perfection wasn't really brought in until First Contact, I would even think. So it's that, I think, seeing them that way, less of like this, like they're eating resources and taking people. It's more of like, we just want your technology. It's like you didn't consent to these people, at this point, we didn't see Borg that were different species. They were all humanoid underneath white humanoid. So maybe that's their species. You decide that that's not appropriate. Like this kind of moral objectivism that's happening, especially with Picard being like, you took my individuality away from me. But it's like, yeah, but that's, I'm not talking about this well enough, but like, I think that there's a better story, a more moral story to happen in the center of this episode that they completely ignore for a fucking mustache, lore tying Data to railroad tracks and going he and running away. Like that's kind of stupid. But anyway, moving on. I like the idea of what they're doing here. I just don't think it's executed well enough. It's a footnote.
It's funny because Nechayev undercuts not only herself but the plot of this whole story, which
It's Will right now.
oh, leave my girl Will alone.
Fuck you, cunt. Like fuck all the way
back.
So the thing about the Borg, the thing, if you really think about with the Borg,
it's
whatever. You're jealous of my youth.
They
You reached the twilight of your life.
they're
really into simulation, and it's.
I agree with you, Will. I agree with what you were saying. Actually, it would have been really cool if Hugh was trying to lure Data back again, like you said, not for revenge, but for the technology. We need his positronic brain because
something
reasons. Yeah, Trevor, I completely cut you off to do that bit.
It was completely worth it.
No, don't lie. No.
What the fuck was I saying? Oh, Nechayev. Nechayev undercuts herself because the story, because one, we don't see her nicer until later in season 7. So maybe I can backtrack on her undercutting herself. So she still comes off as the sassy, but she undercuts the story in that Hugh makes a very good point, which was like, okay, you had two options. You only saw two options in front of you. One was wipe out the Borg. The other was, let's see what happens when we return Hugh and his individuality spreads. And the individuality spreading was fucking awful. Instead of focusing on that, we get Nechayev saying, you're under orders to wipe them out the next time you get a chance. So it like completely negates that they went with, like there could have been a third option and that we didn't explore it. Like unleashing individuality and not knowing what it would do to this society and to this organism and to the hive was incredibly dangerous. Mm-hmm. But so was leaving them alone, but so was wiping them out. Like instead of exploring the conundrum, it just became you either agree with Nechayev or you agree with Hugh. Like there's no good answer to this puzzle. And that I like when Trek asks questions. I don't like when it presents the idea that we're only ever two options and both of them sucked. Because there was a third option they never explored.
They had the opportunity in this to as you're both suggesting, to address the moral quandary of removing someone's agency by granting them agency. And what I mean is they basically gave him a fishing pole, but never told him what the fishing pole was for, how it worked, what its design and purpose was. It was just, we're just going to throw you back out there and see what happens. And that's kind of imperialist thinking that like everything is an experiment. And I think in Nechayev saying that, Nechayev, really going, it's either a black and white situation. You've got one or the other, and that's it. Really sort of undercuts the how sort of useless this episode combination is in terms of maybe you call it a morality tale or whatever. It never really addresses the thing that needs to be addressed. And that's why iBorg was so much better, because it had opposing people on the same team arguing different positions. And particularly you have Jordy and Beverly both in this episode. The two of them were his advocates. The two of them were the ones that were saying, you can't just treat him like an object. You can't, there is consciousness in there. And we're against this. We're going to debate this. We're going to argue this. We're not just going to, sign off as Nechayev would prefer in this episode. They argue it then, and they never once get into it again in this episode. And that's what angers me so much about the lore inclusion, is that it's trite fanboy pandering. The story was Hugh. The story was what happened, particularly if you're going to pluck a mainline season theme for Picard 1 out of this fucking episode. Hugh, what are you going to do now? Hey, I don't know. I'm going to go live on a fucking Romulan star or wherever. I don't fucking know. It was Picard. I didn't watch the first season, but I'm going to try to make something out of this. I'm going to try to figure this out. No thanks to you. And none of that was addressed. None of with the exception of Nechayev's, verbal kind of smack around, nobody addresses it. And also I want to point out, this is the episode that proves whatever rewrite or retconning they did in Picard for Data and Picard, this is the one that canonically defines the relationship between Geordi and Data. Best friends. Picard, you were never in the top 3. Sorry. And that's just, I was like, oh, I like that. But I actually watched this episode trying not to be catty. Like, find something really good. And the good that I found was the Beverly stuff, because they threw her to shit, and she still managed to come out on top. Those mall bangs, though, girl, the mall bangs, I can't. Were you angry? What the fuck happened to your hair? They just, it was like, that season, the worst fucking hair. Season 7 was the best hair, but I digress. This whole episode just pisses me off because it was such an opportunity, and they were done. It was just obvious they were done. Anyway.
Joanne, I see the microphone coming down, ready to drop some knowledge.
Well, no, I agree. I do agree with Will, like this, that Hugh was the story, and this really could have been an exploration of leadership. As I was watching it, I really thought, well, they kind of messed it up in First Contact, and then I think exacerbated it in Picard. But I really, as I was watching, I was like, oh, you know what? This could be a compelling case kind of for the rise of the Queen. Like, they were a collective, then Hugh comes back all individual, rugged individualism. That's not what that means, but you know my point. And, and so the decision then is, do we go flying willy-nilly, or, we need a mind, right? A single mind to kind of organize and bring us together. And the struggle kind of being, do you go back to they go from collective to hive, really, with the Queen, or this also could be the introduction. Hugh could be what, I don't remember her name is, the other girl, the other Queen. Do we want a collective by consent, right? Where we go around, that's the struggle, right? That's the, we want to take over the world. We go with the Borg Queen, or we're a group of whatever, warriors, assimilators, I don't know, finding our own destiny, but by consent. We ask you, do you want to join our collective? And we go off. That was really the story, I think, or the potential. But instead we got what we got.
Mother is regenerating. If anybody saw that Cold documentary, no. Okay, Mother is regenerating. That's for 5 people in the audience, probably.
I'm thinking Anthony Perkins. No, you don't know who that is?
No. Okay, Will, your turn. Obscure reference. Go.
Oh, I don't know. I watched the Pee Wee
Throwing you under the
documentary
bus.
on
Sorry.
HBO, and it was good.
It was good.
So good.
All right. Any other thought? Nah, let's move on. The Borg, we're done with it. Hugh, over it. Over him. He dies. Let's the face that Trevor just made.
It was sad. I was pissed off at the way that he died.
I didn't mind it, but
Did he?
Yeah, he died. Picard was such a cluster.
Here's what Mr. Krista said. How come all those people are fighting? Picard's just standing there looking around. He's like, and I quote, he's no James Tiberius Kirk.
Yeah.
End quote. That's what he said. And I'm
Yeah.
just sorry that our boy isn't here to hear me say.
that's right. Kirk would be all over them Borg wrestling, amongst other things.
Problematic gay alert.
We're just waiting from. That was such a poor excuse to use that, but we'll allow it.
She just wanted to use her new video.
I was forced to make it. It will be on the salon.
Mother got a new toy. She's going to take it out for a spin.
Mother is mothering. Joanne.
No, I'm in shock from the video. No.
Which part of it?
All of the titties.
For those who aren't watching on YouTube, if you're listening, head to YouTube at 4227. I'll give it to you again.
Problematic gay alert.
A wonderful
Here's
array
me
of Star Trek
sniffing.
titties.
I'm trying to figure out who's who. I think my favorite is the one from the which is the crossover white leotard.
Thank you. That is from the episode Justice. One of the
Justice, where we
Edo.
almost killed
When they
West,
do all that running. Yeah.
Yes.
That's why
We run
look
everywhere.
good. We run.
where it was aerobics.
Where Worf, who went to Starfleet Academy on Earth, had never heard of Rome. Yeah. Riker says, "When in Rome, eh, Mr. Worf?" And Worf says, "When in where, sir?" Get it? Is it?
Namaste.
You know, Rorf was always in the gym. He was just like, fuck class.
Only in Minsk.
West, stay off the grass.
Speaking of characters that should have known things that they didn't know, Data had never heard the word Snoop before episode 1 or 2. I don't know. We're trying it. Data and lore. We've touched on it a little bit for this episode. Let's talk about it more. Yeah, kind of meh on it. It's like the most boring parts of this episode and these episodes, and that was supposedly the A plot. Like I put in the chat, I thought lore was written like I don't like being one of those like, oh, the bad writing. I don't think it was bad writing. It just wasn't as good as before. Like lore in Brothers was excellent, ominous, menacing, but still like you care about him. You can see like, oh, he's this way for a reason. Like he's mad at his father, whether it's justified or not. Like there's interesting push and pull there. In this, it's just cartoon villainy, which is great because he's, in Zordon's lair. So it kind of fits that vibe, but just kind of meh on the whole thing. Could have done without him, and with more time, the many random non-original things that they just shoved into Picard season 3. Lore is one of them where I'm just like, what? Not necessary. And he
Also-
wasn't necessary in this.
And not to pull a Krista, but and another thing, they pulled him in the wrong way. Like, what? Why didn't, instead of Data's engrams defeating Lore's engrams, like, what if he had simply adapted them into his own? Like, make him like, I like that we got innocent, childlike Data all over again, but in an older body because whatever. But if we're truly making him a different character, why didn't he just absorb those engrams, not defeat them? Like, it would have been cool if he was a new person who, you know, questioned. Like, what if instead of constantly like bursting into tears, what if he was constantly second guessing himself because he was like, "Oh, was that too mean?" Like, what if he was constantly questioning? Like, that would have been a more interesting and entertaining. Like, okay, they've integrated Lore into Data and Lol and B4 instead of just having Data win. It didn't. Anyway,
Which is something
I
we've
could go on.
already seen. It literally in
talk-
these episodes.
We should talk about Picard 3 again after Strange New World.
Yeah. Thoughts on Data and Lore in these episodes, William?
Yeah, like I said, I love his little muscle suit. I think it's so funny, but like his weird little like padded villain suit. It's so silly. It's like, why are you wearing that? It's like he made the Borg make him a little like ensemble. He needs to. He's not scary. Like, he's just like that. Like, weirdly, he's got like some weird Oedipal thing with his. It's very like White Lotus season 3, like obsessed with your brother in an inappropriate way. Like, it's very that. I'm like, this verges on like an incest thing. It feels weird because it's like, just let him live his fucking life. Like they don't want anything to do with you. You're a fucking piece of shit. Go off and do other bullshit. Like, it's just absurd how he keeps going back to Data. And like, there's a nuance there that's just, like I said, it just couldn't happen in TV in this time. But he either needs to be like, he's not, he's kind of in this weird realm. Like, I want him to either be more villainous and weird and crazy and like Caligula, or like the Marquis de Sade or something, like something real weird, like this far end of like crazy megalomaniac dictator person, instead of like this, like, I keep imagining that one cartoon character who has the dog that he's just like, and he like ties people to train tracks and runs away.
You're talking about Dastardly and Muttley?
Exactly. Thank you so much. Yes, Dastardly. That's what I'm thinking of. And like, that's what he comes off as. It's too cartoony, but it should have been scarier, where it's like, oh, this dude is like create a weird harem of Borg, and he's like this insane megalomaniac dictator person like Caligula. It's like, it's just not
right. His only issue is with like Starfleet and Data. Like,
but he's just obsessed.
Everything
like,
else in the world is, he has no problem with anything else. It's just those two things that are his triggers. I would rather him be like fully committed, homicidal psychopath. Like, go full spectrum. Go do the whole thing. Because they're supposed to be mirrors of each other, right? If you look at it like one is the mirror of the other, then if he's a full-fledged homicidal, psychopath, you can sort of understand why he would want to keep circling back to Data. Because if you can manipulate the presumably good one into doing the things that you have the impulses to do, that's kind of a seductive thing. So I get that they keep circling back to it. And I think, maybe that's the kind of, he's trying to seduce, to the dark side, if you want to go the whole Star Wars about it. But it's just, I have no use for it. I'm not invested in the story. I don't care about, not interested in the nuances between Data and Lore. And I resent the amount of time on the screen that is given to them. We haven't even mentioned Stephen Hawking. And another thing, we haven't even mentioned Stephen Hawking, which was pretty. That's my favorite part of the episode.
There's some funny trivia for that. Apparently, when he
7.
was on set, they put him in a closet. He requested to be put into a closet because it was quiet and dark and he could think. So they literally rolled this man who a brilliant mind but a piece of shit as a person, rolled him into a closet and then basically closed the door until they needed him and just let him like a fucking Roomba.
And again, it was a request. It's important.
It was a request.
It's
it was a
important to
request.
note.
He did ask for this. He did ask for it. But they literally put this man in. They literally just backed him into a closet and just like closed it on him because he just was like, I just need to be someplace where because I like being in there because it's quiet and it's dark. So they're like, okay. So this dude's just in a closet.
It's super weird because we don't normally talk on the salon about people going into the closet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Whoa. That was a good one. It was worthy of something. It was worthy of something.
I don't have a decent pun alert.
It was probably a Ken Dad joke. I'll track it as the third one of the evening.
It's close.
I mean, can we talk about Brent Spiner's
ego
acting choices?
Please don't.
As Data. Why was the decision? Emotional Data sounds like a petulant child having a tantrum. Like, what? Like, I don't know. In that sense, he was the mirror of Laura because Laura was also always throwing a tantrum. But like, these were terrible choices as an actor. And I can't believe nobody said anything or thought that this was acceptable.
I am not inferior to Laura.
I am not your puppet anymore. Go to timeout, son. Like, here's your juice box. Sit down, right? I was just like, this is terrible. This is trash.
The conversations between him and Troy were so interesting. And then it's just like, nope, we're going to get rid of that petulant child, kill Jordy.
Well, and then it was just like Pinocchio Breaks Bad, right? Brought to you by the folks that brought you Breaking Bad. It was just, it's like, I want to be a real boy. And when, if you ever achieve your goal of being a real human, and it's like, if I had watched from season 1 all the way to this one, I would have just been like, fuck this episode. Just fuck it. I'm so tired of Data and his I want to be a real boy thing. You have like superhuman strength. You have all of these. Why must you whine about the thing that you don't have?
Yeah, humans aren't that great, Data.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, dude, can you concentrate on the things that you can do instead?
Most humans aren't that great, just to clarify. You know what was also missing from this? Because, I mean, like I said, it's like 6 half ideas thrown into one. You know what would have been interesting is if Laura threw out there, you know what I'm actually pissed about? You killed my friend. You killed the crystalline entity.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe that was his motivation.
Technically, the queen of vitreous materials.
Laura doesn't care about that. Data should have stopped her.
Remember, they hid in the caves because of vitrium?
Yes.
I just like saying vitrium.
Vitrium.
I just like it. Makes me happy.
Vitrium, please. that from Will is sustains me.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Captain Crusher. Like I said, like we all said, she got the D team, but we got to see badass Beverly in charge. We're gonna just throw this up for the fun of it. It's this whole episode's a Beverly alert, but
inside of 5 seconds, it's red alert.
Yes. Sassy hair and everything.
Let's go.
I love that, like, things that I loved. Her in charge. Her giving the scientist the moment to shine. Even though, like, I'm like, they're like, well, when I was in college, my thesis was such and such. Like, your thesis will never be relevant. I want everyone to understand that. Everybody doing a PhD, your thesis will never be relevant. Just sit with that. But she let the scientist have her moment. She let Joe Brill have his moment. I think she knew. I think she's like, this is the guy that tried to kill me, but I can't let him know. Turn on the metaphasic shields as like a clue. And that was fun. They destroyed the Borg. It was a little like, I think Will or Joanne said this earlier, is like, it was a little quick, like, okay, now we'll go back and now we'll do this. It was like A to B to C without like much in between it. But I loved giving the Doctor her moment to shine. Captain Crusher, Medicine Woman.
This is
Krista,
kind of a
your
fun.
thoughts.
Oh.
And then Will's thoughts. Will, you shut up. You just wait.
I just wow. Sorry, Will. I just wanted to say that it was sort of it's I listened to a True Crime Obsessed, and the podcaster, the girl, half of the podcaster does another thing called Let the Women Do the Work. And this was a Let the Women Do the Work episode, because Beverly's in charge. There's no pissing contest. There's no politicking. There was no, who's in charge, who has to listen to who has to do it. There was a kind of a minor bit of a chest puffing between Tate and Suspicions Dude. But on the average, every time, somebody else has been recently, especially in this series of two-parters that we've done, Data and Will have both experienced pushback to being the captain in various different degrees. And this is a situation where Beverly takes over. There's nothing of the kind. And for me, I'm taking it as let the women do the work. They get the job done. They deal with the bullshit later. Let's get the job done first. That's how I'm choosing to look at it, instead of the writers just weren't terribly interested in Beverly Crusher. So, Will.
I was just gonna say, I appreciate that. I think this episode is a fun kind of foreshadowing precursor to Captain Beverly in All Good Things. How I thought she kind of goes into, if that is the future of this series, then her becoming captain makes a lot of sense there. Like I thought her as a captain, I thought she was incredibly competent, and she was pretty level-headed, and she didn't panic. And she wasn't like Troy, who was like, I don't know what we're doing. And like, she was like, here's what we do. She goes, oh, I remember this thing we had. We'll try it. This girl with her, Tate with her thing, she gets him to shut up. Like, it's like a good, like, there wasn't a lot of conflict, because I feel like Beverly's got that, like, she's got that good mom energy where it's just like, oh no, when your mom's mad at you and she like grabs the underside of your arm and she looks at you like this, and you're just like, oh fuck, like where you're done. Like that thing was like, oh no,
in the
she grabs
grocery
your
store.
shoulder. Yeah, and you're like, oh shit. It's like,
I
okay,
can't get
you're
the payday bar. Oh.
Yeah.
You
So
put
just
that
wait
back.
till we get home. Yeah, just wait till we get home. Yeah. So we've all been there. But I think her as a captain was incredibly competent. I just think that the situation didn't warrant it's so low stakes that like there isn't much of a time for her to like, there's not enough conflict and duress under the ship for them to warrant the stuff that's happened. Like them going to the Star seems like it's their first choice. Like they didn't fight the Borg vessel. They're like, oh, we fired a couple torpedoes at it. It's like that Borg vessel should have rocked their shit. And they're like, we're derelict. Something's happened. We only have enough power for this, and then like, they're like, we'll try and bring it to this, whatever. Like there isn't enough of a like moment where they have to think that this sparks that kind of creative thinking that Beverly has almost immediately, calling back to an episode like a season prior where she's like, oh, we have this fucking metaphasic shielding that we managed to get to work. Which is like, that's better than the shielding you fucking. Yeah, and it's like, oh, it works and it's better, and we never hear about this fucking shielding ever again. But like, it's like it just doesn't, like, there wasn't enough of like a situation that was complex that they had to like, that was like their last resort, like going to the star and shooting a phaser at it to create a solar flare that would destroy the Borg ship should not have been their first choice. It should have been their third or fourth. Like they should have thought about, oh, maybe we separate the saucer or something. Like it should have been, there should have been so many other situations before they're like, oh, let's think of this obscure shield and then go sit in a star for 20 minutes. Like, no. Like,
You know what could have been cool is if they did separate and you get a callback to season 1 when Beverly gets back, picks them up in the battle bridge, and the captain's like, you know, acting Captain Crusher, I expect my ship to be given back to me in one piece.
I expect you to manually load it.
Like
What?
you did with Geordi in season 1.
A manual docking, Krista.
A manual docking?
Keep her
All right,
in.
she gets something for that. Push a button. I don't care which one.
I'll go with this one, I guess.
Problematic gay alert.
I feel like docking is a strictly gay endeavor.
You think everything is a strictly gay endeavor. It's like,
well, isn't it?
you sad little heteros gotta scrape together whatever fucking scraps you assholes leave us.
It's so hard to be straight in America now, isn't it,
It is.
Krista?
It's so hard to be straight and white and male.
Do we have an ally alert? Has it made the migration?
We need an ally attack. We need
You thirsty bitch.
Yeah, Will's right. I'm going to make a problematic ally attacking her co-panelists.
A thirsty bitch.
It's Krista riding a photon torpedo.
Just like,
wow. What's the visual?
Trevor, finish your thought, and then I'm going to move us on to our next.
Troy action pose.
Now, all I can see is Krista on a torpedo like Troy on a mountain. It's really hard to move on from that. But I do want to.
Things we like to ride.
We could do it like Rick. It could be Krista, Dr. Strangelove, exactly.
You guys, this whole episode was a Beverly alert, and look who we conjured.
I know.
Oh, we did it.
That was gonna be I was gonna talk Bev, but I was gonna give a quick shout out because I love. Yeah, yay! Hi, Michelle. And we're glad you're here. The only thing I was gonna mention is that there's one. I've already raved about Captain Bev, and I wish that it had happened more organically than it did, but I like that it happened. I didn't like Tate at the tactical station. No sense. Like I liked her and her sort of. I liked her having her conflict with Barnaby or whatever the fuck his name was. Mm-hmm. But I didn't like that she was at tactical. Like we just picked this woman that just graduated with a sciences degree, and we were like, quick to the tactical station because everyone else is on a search and rescue mission. Like it just that felt like having her on the bridge and having the argument was wonderful, and having her win the argument was brilliant. But like having her at tactical in the first place felt super weird. It just didn't make sense. But the only other thing was there's an act break where Beverly gives a directional order to the helm, and it's that course will take us directly to the sun, and there's no reaction. It makes it look for a split second like Beverly has no idea what she's doing. Which I appreciate but like, I guess they were trying to build suspense for the act break, but it would have been really nice for her to say, I know, or like exactly, or I know, like some line that is like, yeah, she's a badass and she's got this. Like, and then, but the audience is left going, but how is she going to survive in the sun? Like, but let it be known, that was her intention, not that it's like, whoopsie, I accidentally set a course for the sun. That's what happens when you leave the doctor in charge. Like it gives Maurice Hurley like 2 minutes and 30 seconds of satisfaction, which like pisses me off. That like, see, Beverly doesn't know what she's doing, and that annoys me because it's like obviously we get when they come back from commercial, that was the plan all along. but like don't leave us waiting to find out that was her intention, because it just seems stupid. But that was it. That's all I had on that.
They should have just panned to her because it would have. I thought it was cunt not to
Smiling.
answer, but they
Yeah.
should have panned to her face and just been like, I do this every day, and just like, bitch, I heard you. Like, just had her roll her eyes, but it doesn't warrant a response. I'm in charge. Do what the fuck I said.
That's how I
So
took it.
that's what I would have done. Because I wouldn't have said anything either. I'd have been like, HBIC. So
Well,
yeah,
she's been there and she's done that. She's
yeah.
already done it. So
But I
it's
also
like, it just would
appreciated.
have been nice if she just had a smirk. Like just
Yeah,
a
exactly. Just
corner,
like, girl, I got this. Thanks. That's why I'm in the big chair. That's why I'm in the big chair. But I did appreciate how she just let them fucking manage their conflict. Barnaby Jones and Tate arguing back and forth, and she's just like, whatever, work it out. I love that shit. Leaders don't do that enough. And I love that. Let your folks manage their conflict. Now, if it gets out of hand, step in, but don't be afraid. Let them handle it. Let them handle it. Oh, I love that shit.
Mhm.
It was also cunt.
Speaking of, it's time for a new segment as we prepare to land this ship. We are coming to the end of our episode, and we've talked about how this episode has a whole lot going on, but there is still something missing from this episode. This episode needs to be gayified. It needs to be LGBTQ plus IAtified. It needs something. It needs some zhuzhing. It needs to be more. Mo. We need to make it mo.
You do know that he's gay, right?
Don't be so binary. In my universe, he was pansexual.
What just happened?
We're gonna make it mo by adding an element to this episode that just makes it a little more something. My contribution to this episode would be the bookend would be a scene between Admiral Nechayev and Captain Dr. Beverly Crusher. There's just a little bit of sexual tension built in there. The Admiral saying, "You did an excellent job in charge, Beverly. Perhaps one of these days we'll give you a ship of your own." "Oh, thank you, Admiral, but I'm happy in sick bay. This was a fun little aside." "Well, Jean-Luc doesn't know what to do with you. If you change your mind, I certainly do." Make it mo. Make it mo, Will.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, vivid. I would just make Lore like super gay, just the faggiest little android in all of the universe. Just like his little Borg. Just make that dude gay. Just like, hello, like have
Hello, Data.
jealous, like shit like that. Like I think that would be really funny. Just
Look at all these men I have around me.
Yeah, I would say considering that what we know of Data, he is heterosexual. It would be funny that the antithesis of that is his gay villain brother,
And deeply problematic, but in a fun way.
but also as the gay villain brother. That does I do require the representation, so that would have been appreciated. But yeah, just make. I don't know if Brent Spiner could have. Anyway, I wouldn't have appreciated his performance as a gay villain android, but
it's the part you were born to play, Will.
Yes.
I mean,
bring Will in, and I
would be a good Data. I would be good. That would be a fun role to play. Now I was on the fence about rebooting TNG. Reboot it and make me. And I'm 400 years old and I look 27. I could play that android forever.
Yes, make him a sassy Fagat. And I think Will, your answer does deserve one of these.
Problematic gay alert.
I'm gonna be up close in person with some of them titties in STLV for sure.
I'd be trying
to make that happen. I saw Miss Krista's mouth. Wow.
Joanne, Can you make it Mo, please?
So I'll take a page from Will's book, and say that Sela was there, but she was like watching from her cloak ship because she heard from her mom that Data was fully functional, and now there are two of them. So she shows up for the DP. Woo!
Yes.
Wait, that's a problematic ally alert if I ever heard one.
Indeed.
You thirsty bitch.
In the arms of the angel.
Krista, can you make it Mo, please?
I can't.
Chris is gonna be like, we have to rethink these gay rights. I'm voting. I'm voting to get these rights away from these people.
With the gay rights, I can't think of anything other than in the opening scene when they're all playing poker. The poker doesn't need to be happening in like a casino setting or an apartment setting. It needs to be happening in like a drag Sunday brunch.
Mm.
Where
Isaac Newton takes off his wig and things,
right?
Really
And
petals
then
fall out.
everybody, it turns into the birdcage or whatever. I have typical white people reflections on this.
It's
white people.
It's way more. It's way more innocent than my answer. So Stan, get the button ready. Because mine is like the fun scenes between Lore and Geordi. It's actually just Lore edging Geordi the entire time.
Problematic gay alert.
Oh, you want to come? Never mind. Ooh, bye. I'm gonna go away now. Goodbye. Yeah.
Oh, great combo. Great callback, Will. And suddenly there's a orgy going on. Ugh.
Why would there not? They're individual.
Everybody's
like, how do we feel as one? Well, I've got an idea.
The answers
where does your tube end and my tube begin?
Problematic gay alert.
We're already into tentacle dicks.
What?
Don't kink shame us.
This is not Babylon 5. So.
No, the answers in the video you did. Add Emperor Giorgio to anything, any scene. It's automatically more. It's not even just more. It's more everything. She's everything. She's everything. She's fantastic.
Everything and more. Just like us. Speaking of, Trevor,
yes.
Give us the tallies, please.
There were 6 problematic gay alerts, 2 problematic ally alerts. There were 3 Ken dad jokes. There were 2 tosser alerts, and there were all of the Bev alerts. I gave 69,000 bonus points to Krista for embracing anaphasic seduction. I gave 1,959 bonus points to Joanne for embracing action adventure Troy. I gave 700 bonus points to Will for embracing Lore's padding, and I gave 10,000 bonus points to Norman for not embracing Lore.
So I'll do our action pose.
Oh, and I'll give 1 million bonus points to Michelle for making up for the time that we haven't seen you and giving you some extra, little sprinkling of Bev and bonus points and love and hugs and all the things.
Yes. Beverly. Michelle's here. Will, thank you for that idea in the chat.
You're welcome. I'll be billing you for that joke you stole. Thank you so much.
I credited the writer. Y'all, this has been delightful as always. Get excited because we don't get to see Strange New Worlds along with the rest of the world, or the Tribeca Film Festival. We get it a month later. So what are we going to do for Pride Month? We're going to continue our level 2 diagnostic series with the queerest of series. That's right, Deep Space Nine. We will be covering 2-part episodes of Deep Space Nine all of Pride Month. So get excited. Get so excited. Get them out. Get them hard right now. Get excited for it.
These are often more better than the others. So this will be an exciting month.
These are often a lot more better.
Here's the thing.
These was
Here's what
Let
people
me
don't
tell you
understand.
another thing. Let me tell
Get
you.
off my
I will tell
lawn.
you.
And we're working
Let
on
me say it. You guys don't ever let me dance. You don't ever let me dance. I don't want to do it. You won't let me dance. You won't let me dance.
You won't.
We will be
Don't.
kicking things off next week with The Search, parts 1 and 2,
Search
which
for
include
these nuts.
my
Show him.
favorite Jadzia hairdo. That's right. Get excited.
It's a Jadzia hair, don't.
Yes. It's, I mean, what else would it be? So get excited. We will see you all next week for Tough Little Shipping, The Search Parts 1 and 2 Salon of Deep Space Nine. So get excited. And until then, please do live long and prosper. Action pose.
All hands abandon ship. Proceed to the nearest evacuation zone immediately.